So now we have the wonderful opportunity to speak with a woman who is really affecting change in live music. So I'd like to introduce Malle Kaas. So Malle, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yes. So I read a little bit about you and women in live music, but can you enlighten me and our audience as well, and just share a little bit of background about your organization and what influenced you to create it?
Well, Women in Live Music is a European organization that has been around for 6 years, and it's a organization that represents women working backstage in production, logistic, and technical. Like myself, I'm a live sound engineer. So everybody who works at a concert, that would be our target group.
Fantastic. And how did your career in AV as a general industry, how did that begin?
Oh, I'm actually not really AV.
I'm more for the audio thing.
Yeah, I'm more for the touring and festival industry. But of course, as a sound engineer, I do all kinds of jobs. That means I also do work in the AV industry. So it's like we cross paths now and then,
For sure. So how did that start? How did
that start?
Career, yeah.
Well, it started already in the mid-90s. Well, actually, since I was a little kid, I wanted to do something with, engineering and music. So what's more, naturally than being a sound engineer. So then, in the mid-90s, I started out as a sound engineer.
And was that something that you studied to do, or did it
I'm
practical
autodidact.
experience? And all
I'm autodidact. And actually, I started out as a sound tech because I was convinced that I could not mix, because I didn't see any other women do it. I only saw big guys doing, and I'm not a big guy, so I was convinced that I could not do it. After some years as a sound tech, and I was really good at my job, I did decide to quit, and I became a nurse anesthetist, and I was living that normal life for a lot of years until I discovered that, oh my God, sound is my true passion. I need to go back, but if I can keep people alive in the hospital, I can also mix a show. So in 2015, I went back to the industry and I started mixing, and nobody would ever get me away from that mixing board again.
Glad to hear it.
And I know in so many other industries, including ours, with women trying to grow in our careers, there's usually some aspect of mentorship and even networking with our peers and other women. What can you say about mentorship and networking and helping women advance in the live music field? How does your program help facilitate that?
Well, first of all, by being a community, because belonging to a minority in the industry and at the same time belonging to a community means everything. That makes you stay in this industry because you're not alone. Because as a woman, you will be often stigmatized because you're the only woman. Everybody will be watching every step that you're making. They'll be watching exactly how you're doing it. And often women only get like one chance. I hear so often in the industry, we tried it once with a woman and it didn't work out. So a community that you can fall back into and where you can cry out or you can get advice and support means everything to women in the industry. And that's why Women in Live Music is there. Mentorship is another part, because having someone that you can reach out to by mail or by phone or on the gig will often save your life, so to speak, because 80% of the women in the industry, all across, 80% suffers from imposter syndrome to a degree where they're actually thinking about leaving the industry. So having a mentor that you can reach out to is so essential.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned earlier as well that, the thing that sort of, thankfully it didn't cut your whole career short in total, but it sort of delayed your career, was the lack of representation. You didn't see any other women doing the job you wanted to do. It was all big guys and you didn't feel kind of represented. What are the key contributing factors to underrepresentation, and how do you think they can be overcome in the live music industry?
Visibility, community networking, but also improvement of working skills. So what we do in Women in Live Music on a daily basis is that we organize workshops, seminars, and events for women to come and learn about their profession, whether it's about backlining or sound and light or tour management or whatever. So,
and I know we had briefly chatted about hidden harassment, and you were also talking about just a moment ago about how challenging it is in that industry, and people thinking women can't do the work. So what advice would you give aspiring women who want to get into the industry? What advice would you give them to tell them they can do that and pursue a career in this industry?
Well, first of all, I'll advise them to become a member of Women in Live Music, and I'll also advise the entire industry to go in and support Women in Live Music, because we cannot do this alone. That's one thing. So the second thing is, the advice I would give to the women is, don't quit. Don't give up. It's tough out there, but it's tough for everyone. But use your community to get back on the horse again. But actually, the real advice I want to give is to the guys out there. Because if they have a woman on the crew, give her a chance. And when you're giving her that chance, then give her a second chance. Because it's so often, and this is what hidden harassment is about. Like, let me give you a couple of examples. If a woman asks a question, she's kind of not that smart. If a guy asks the same question, it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's interesting. Let me just reply to that one. If a woman is making a mistake on a gig, she's most likely not asked back. If a guy does the same mistake, it's just like one of these things that can happen. That's hidden harassment. It's difficult to call out because it could be caused by the situation. It could also be maybe the chemistry wasn't right. Maybe that woman wasn't competent and qualified enough for the gig. Who knows? So that's hidden harassment. And we all need to keep an eye out for that and call it out when it happens.
Absolutely. And what are your hopes for the future of Women in Live?
The hope for the future is that all the companies that are represented here at the ISE would check in on Women in Live Music and support our cause, because we cannot do this alone. And we have a long way to go. We are looking at another 6 to 7 years before we raise from 5% in the industry to just about 10%. And I'm talking about having a sustainable number. Because yes, a lot of women are being introduced to the industry, but they're not staying in the industry. And we need to join forces to make the women stay in the industry.
Absolutely. Malle, thank you so much for joining us. By the way, have you seen the musical Six that's currently showing in London? Are you familiar with this musical? It's like a musical theatre.
No.
No. So it's the story of Henry VIII's 6 wives, and it's an all-female cast, an all-female band and back line as well. So it's an incredible example. Maybe it's something that Women in Live Music could use as an example or work with or something like that. It's a great show.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm just going to say, hire a woman and you will probably have the best co-worker, because she cannot allow herself to fail. She knows she's not getting that second chance, and she has to be 3 times better than the guys. So get a girl out there.
There you go. Well, I'm fired up. So
Yeah,
I hope everybody
exactly.
goes and checks it out. Where can they find this information, your organization again?
Well, we're having a website, Women in Live Music. We are on LinkedIn, we are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, but we're also represented with a booth in the last hall, in Hall 7, all the way in the back, in the corner, right next to the coffee machine. And I don't know if you catch the irony of that. Right? But there we are, we're having a small booth. Come and meet us.
Hopefully next year will be front and centre, So that'd be great. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Sharing your story. Thank you.